This is the kind of case that stays with you. A chilling disappearance in the middle of the Australian outback, a terrified woman running for her life, and a body that was never found. If you're into true crime with twists you won't see coming, you're in the right place. Welcome to Case Closed. I'm Anna. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment with your theory, because this one, it's wild.
And I'm Adrian. And wow, Anna, we've got a case today it's just chilling, really. It's one of those that, well, it sticks with you.
It absolutely does, Adrian. Today we're diving into the incredibly intriguing and ultimately deeply tragic story of the Peter Falconio murder. This happened, way back in 2001 in the vast, remote, and frankly terrifying Australian outback.
Yeah, the Outback, it's a character in itself in this story. And what makes this case so perplexing, even all these years later, is just, well, there are so many twists and turns, right? And one big, lingering question.
So many. It's a case that gripped a nation, and it involves, a young couple, a deserted highway, and a terrifying encounter that honestly leaves you just wondering. We're going to unravel all of that for you today.
So let's set the scene for our listeners, Anna. We're talking about July 2001, and Peter Falconio, who was 28, and his girlfriend, Joanne Lees, 27, they were on, the adventure of a lifetime,
Absolutely, a classic backpacker trip. They were traveling through Australia's Northern Territory, heading up the Stuart Highway. It's just like this incredibly long, remote stretch of road, often with literally nothing for miles.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, isn't it? The sheer isolation of it all. They're in their orange combi van, just enjoying the scenery, just taking it all in, when suddenly, around 8 o'clock at night, near Barrow Creek, another vehicle pulls up behind them.
Right, and it's a white ute. And, Peter, he pulls over thinking maybe, they're just alerting him to something wrong with the van, like maybe a problem with the exhaust. He gets out to talk to the driver, and that's when it all, just went horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, Peter goes to the back, and Joanne, she hears what sounds like a gunshot. I mean, can you imagine? Just boom, out of nowhere. And then this stranger, he comes around to her side of the van. The terror, oh my gosh.
Oh, it's unimaginable, Adrian. So Joanne, she's pulled from the van, right? And she's absolutely terrified. Understandably. This man, he ties her hands behind her back, apparently with zip ties. And then he, gags her and puts a bag over her head.
Yeah, and she thinks, this is it, I'm gonna die. He shoves her into the back of her own van. And well, she hears him revving the engine, trying to move Peter's body, she thinks. But somehow, miraculously, she manages to escape.
She does. It's incredible. She wriggles free. I mean, it must have been pure adrenaline, right? And then she bolts, runs into the darkness of the outback and just hides. For hours, Anna. Just hours in the dense bush, fearing for her life. Can you imagine the sheer terror?
Oh, I can't even. And then, finally, after all that time, she sees some lights. A road train, of all things. And she runs out, flags them down, and that's how she gets help. But this is where it gets a bit murky, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Because while her story is undeniably harrowing, there was immediate skepticism. I mean, the way she escaped, how she survived for so long in the bush, the fact that Peter's body was just gone. Some people, including some in the media, just couldn't quite believe it. There were, whispers, doubts,
Yeah, exactly. Some quarters were like, is this too perfect an escape? Or why isn't she more emotional? I mean, come on, people react differently to trauma, but she definitely faced some really intense public scrutiny right from the start. It was awful for her, I'm sure. Right, so despite some of those initial whispers, the police, they had to act, right? This was a major incident. So the immediate response was, well, massive, especially given where they were.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're in the middle of nowhere, the Australian outback. It's not like they're investigating a crime in, a city park. This is vast. So the police launched this huge, extensive search for Peter Falconio's body.
Absolutely. They're searching this incredibly remote area along the Stuart Highway in the vast Aussie outback. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of kilometers of, Desolate scrubland, rocky terrain, just nothing but red dirt and sparse vegetation. It's an investigator's nightmare, really.
It really is. And the biggest, most glaring problem was that there was no body, no physical evidence of Peter being there, or, what happened to him beyond Joanne's account.
Exactly. So they're searching this enormous, remote, almost uninhabitable area, trying to find a needle in a haystack, essentially. And all they really have to go on, at least initially, is Joanne Lees's harrowing testimony.
Which, as we said, was facing scrutiny. So you've got this incredible challenge of a crime scene with no actual body in a place that's just so isolated, and your key witness is, being doubted by some. It's a tough start for any investigation, isn't it?
Yeah, it was an incredibly tough start. But, eventually, the puzzle pieces did start to come together, and the focus shifted from just, like, the general search, to a very specific individual, Bradley John Murdoch.
Right, so he was a drug dealer, a mechanic, a bit of a, shady character, shall we say, and he became the prime suspect. How did they actually zero in on him, though, given all the challenges?
Well, this is where the investigation really started to get some traction. There was crucial DNA evidence found at the crime scene, and it was this DNA that really connected him directly to what happened.
So they had DNA? That's huge. What kind of DNA are we talking about here? Like, was it from Peter or Joanne or...
It was Joanne's DNA, actually. And more importantly, there was a blood sample found in the vehicle that matched Murdoch's. Plus, there was also a partial DNA profile found on a cable tie used to bind Joanne. That was the game changer.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just a hunch. They had actual forensic evidence linking him to the scene, to Joanne. That must have been a massive breakthrough for the police, considering the lack of other evidence.
Absolutely. But beyond the DNA, his behavior after the incident was, incredibly suspicious. He just disappeared from his usual haunts, went off the grid. That, obviously raised a lot of red flags for the authorities.
Yeah, that's never a good look, is it? When someone just vanishes right after a major incident like this. And I think he also had a history, right? This wasn't his first run-in with the law.
No, not at all. He had a pretty extensive criminal record, including a history of violence and drug-related offenses. So once his name surfaced, and then the DNA matched, it all just kind of, clicked into place. The picture became a lot clearer.
Wow, so all those pieces, the DNA, his history, his suspicious disappearance, it all built up to this huge trial then, didn't it? This must have been, front page news across Australia.
Oh, absolutely. This was huge. The trial of Bradley Murdoch. It was incredibly high stakes, highly publicized. And, the whole nation really was watching. They wanted answers.
And the prosecution, they had a pretty strong case by this point, right? With the DNA, that's already a massive piece of the puzzle.
They did. They really did. The prosecution's case hinged on a few crucial things. Obviously, the forensic evidence, that was, foundational. The DNA evidence we just talked about, linking Murdoch directly to Joanne Lees and the scene itself, that was just undeniable.
And then there was Joanne. Her testimony must have been incredibly powerful, I imagine, to relive all that.
Beyond powerful, Anna. Joanne Lees, she took the stand. And her account of what happened, her harrowing escape, it was absolutely central. She was able to recount, with incredible detail, the entire terrifying ordeal. And, despite all the initial skepticism she faced, her story, when she told it in court, was just, it was compelling, very compelling.
I can only imagine. To sit there facing the person accused of taking Peter's life, and to recount every single terrifying moment, that takes, immense courage.
It really does. And the jury, they had to weigh all of this. They had the forensic evidence, Joanne's powerful, emotional testimony, Murdoch's suspicious behavior, his history, and after a really intense trial, a lot of deliberation, they reached a verdict.
And that verdict was...
Bradley John Murdoch was found guilty. Guilty of Peter Falconio's murder. And also, of assaulting Joanne Lees and depriving her of her liberty.
So, a conviction. Finally, some closure, in a sense, for Joanne and Peter's family, knowing that the person responsible was, brought to justice.
Yes, a conviction. And, that does provide a degree of justice, of course, for Joanne and Peter's family. But, Anna, there's a huge, glaring piece of this puzzle that remains unsolved.
Oh, you're talking about Peter's body, aren't you? Because even with the conviction, his body was never found.
Exactly. Never found. To this day. And that, it just casts such a long shadow over everything. Because even though Murdaugh was convicted, the ultimate closure of, being able to bury Peter, that was denied to his family. It's just an incredibly difficult thing to comprehend, I think.
It really is. I mean, to have that knowledge, but not the physical proof, it must be agonizing. And then you think about Joanne Lees, she went through this horrific ordeal, then the trial, and she still has to live with all of that. What was her life like after this, Did she ever find any peace?
It's been incredibly challenging for her. She had to endure not only the initial trauma and the loss of Peter, but then the public scrutiny, the whispers, the accusations, and then the whole trial. And even after the conviction, that public gaze, it didn't really disappear for a long time. She's tried to, live a quiet life away from the spotlight, but she's always going to be intrinsically linked to this case, won't she?
Yeah, that's just an awful burden to carry. And I guess because the body was never found, that probably fueled a lot of those, alternative theories or doubts that some people might have had even after the conviction.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that Peter's body has never been recovered, it really does continue to fuel various lingering theories and speculation among some people. Even though the police, they searched extensively. The Outback is just so vast, so unforgiving. But yes, some people still, wonder if there's more to it or if he's out there somewhere. Even though, all the evidence points to what happened. But that missing piece, it really does keep the imagination running, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's almost like without that final piece of the puzzle, it's hard for some people to fully accept it, even with a conviction.
It certainly does. And that's really, I think, what makes the Peter Falconio murder such a uniquely chilling and, tragic case for Case Close. A young couple, a remote highway, an attacker, and then a body that's never been found. It's just a truly haunting story.
Yeah, it really is, Adrian. And it just goes to show, how quickly life can change in the most unexpected ways. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Peter Falconio case.
Absolutely. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in to Case Close. We really appreciate you spending your time with us.
Do make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, where we'll be tackling another fascinating cold case. We've got some good ones coming up.
Yes, absolutely. So until then, this is Adrian.
And Anna.
Signing off from Case Close.